Welcome to the deep dive. Today, you've shared some really thought-provoking sources looking at contemporary politics, specifically things like MEGA and Trumpism, but through an unusual lens, the Hindu concept of Kali Yuga.
That's right. And it's important to frame this as an interpretive approach. The sources aren't making a definitive judgment, more exploring potential resonances.
Okay, Kali Yuga. My understanding from the materials is it's seen as this final kind of darker age in Hindu cycles, marked by a decline in, is it Dharma?
Precisely,
Conduct.
exactly, Dharma. And the sources draw parallels, suggesting we might see echoes today. Things like a perceived drop in moral standards, maybe more divisiveness, a sense some have of losing traditional values.
Right, and that ties into another point from your sources, this blurring of truth and falsehood, like the sheer amount of misinformation, the questioning of institutions. Does that fit the Kali Yuga description?
It really does. The texts describe Kali Yuga as a time where confusion reigns and societal bonds weaken, that intense polarization we see everywhere. The sources suggest that could be seen as a reflection of this kind of fragmentation.
And the echo chambers online, people really digging into their own groups, maybe rejecting other views entirely.
Yeah, that breakdown in understanding between different groups is also mentioned as characteristic. And then there's this other aspect the sources touch on, this search for identity, for purpose.
Leading to things like populism, a sort of nostalgia for an idealized past.
Precisely. That's another potential link explored in the materials, but it's not presented as only negative.
Oh, how so?
Well, the sources also mention that Kali Yuga, despite the chaos, can be seen as a period of intense transition, maybe even a necessary precursor to renewal. So some might see these movements as trying to restore integrity or purpose.
Okay, that's a crucial nuance. So if we accept this framework, even just interpretively, how do we navigate it? The sources brought up Lord Krishna and Kali. Let's start with Krishna.
Krishna's teachings, especially around Dharma, your duty, ethical action, offer really practical guidance according to these texts. It's about engaging ethically, trying to promote truth, and crucially fostering actual dialogue to bridge divides.
That makes a lot of sense. Acting with integrity, focusing on your responsibilities no matter where you stand politically. And what about detachment? Krishna talks about focusing on the action, not the outcome.
Yes, exactly. That perspective is highlighted as really valuable now, to try and maintain a balanced view, avoid that sort of blind allegiance, and focus on doing the right thing rather than just winning. It helps manage the emotional charge.
Okay, so that's Krishna. Now, Kali, often depicted as fierce, right? How does she fit in?
Kali is this powerful symbol of transformation, even destruction leading to rebirth. The sources link this to embracing change, even disruptive change, as potentially necessary for renewal.
So not just external change, but internal too, like confronting our own biases.
Exactly. Kali's energy, in this interpretation, calls for courage, the courage to face uncomfortable truths, both out there and within ourselves, to engage more consciously.
And that fearlessness aspect.
Right.
Speaking out against injustice or misinformation.
Precisely. It's framed as a call to action, to not be passive bystanders, but maybe agents of positive change, fostering support within communities.
It seems like both Krishna and Kali in these interpretations point towards something shared. Compassion. Non-duality.
Yes, that's a key takeaway in the sources. Recognizing our shared humanity, the common aspirations underneath the political labels. It's about fostering empathy, moving towards peaceful coexistence rather than just conflict.
So, to wrap up, the point isn't to definitively label current events as Kali Yuga, but more to use these ancient concepts as maybe tools. Tools for understanding and encouraging a more ethical, compassionate way to engage with politics today.
Exactly that. Using these insights to hopefully foster a bit more understanding of ourselves and others within this really complex landscape.
Which leaves us and you, our listeners, with a final thought drawing from that material. How can you personally apply these principles of dharma, of duty and responsibility in your own political life right now? Something to think about. Thanks for joining this deep dive.